Ladies and gentlemen, good evening. Welcome along. Monday night, 8 p.m. The Live Lounge is here. You will notice there is only two of us because someone is absent without leave. He was in WhatsApp. He was in our WhatsApp sheets not so long ago, wasn't he? Because he was arguing with Jar again.
He's got distracted arguing, hasn't he?
Yeah, so it's we'll add him when he's here. Wait a minute.
There we go.
Wait a minute.
There he is.
There he is. I just need to get the other one lined up so we can go like that and like that. And then we'll put us back to normal. Good evening. Have you got your late note?
I'm building a wardrobe. I'm still building a wardrobe. I apologise. I'm building a second-hand wardrobe via instructions that I found on the internet, and I'm currently at the bit where you have to pin the thin sheets on the back that actually are quite important to the structure, but are a pain in the ass. Half the screws don't come out, so I'm trying to, or the nails don't come out, so now I'm trying to screw them in and piss around, and it's been fun. I had to go and buy a hammer because I don't own 29 years old, don't own a hammer, so that was a fun trip.
There's some background noise. Is your mic all right?
I have a fan on because I am fat and very sweaty.
Well, you're going to be sweatier when you turn that fan on because he's driving us all back.
Yeah, I had this poxy little thing that didn't do enough, and people by the end of it were commenting on how I looked. So this time, I have this. Ignore the bowl. That's empty from last week.
Can you position it so it doesn't blow into the microphone? Because every time it turns and blows into the microphone, the noise is horrific. It sounds like a wind tunnel.
Could well be. Maybe I'm the new chief technical designer for Ferrari and Red Bull.
But welcome along, everyone. Chat room. Paul is in. Says hi, guys. Hope you join the show at 5 a.m. Bit early in Australia. Good stuff. James is in. Dale, how do? Bob Fraser Knowles, nice to have you in. Warren, Mark, Owen, Shelty is in. Andrew, how we doing, everyone? I'm good, mate. Wayne is in. Patrick, good evening. Josh, evening all to you as well. Simon is in. Daniel, how do? Cameron, David. Oh, chat room's rammed.
Busy.
Oh, Brock, KJ is in. Chris is in. Acknowledge the tribal chief. Warren is in. Lendl says getting sacked in the morning. How we doing? Niall is in. The werewolf is good. Chat room is absolutely rammed. Has Boise been sacked? No, Boise's still about. He's just had other commitments on a Monday. Stan's been part of the regular lineup for a while now. Niall says, Jack, that 177 call today was decent with a thumbs up.
It's because the 180 sucks, so people notice the 170. No, I'm joking. Thanks, mate. Well, I personally think that anything above 170 should get boomed out. It deserves recognition. They're all worth the same, basically.
If I throw anything above 170, I knock on all the doors and tell the neighbours. No, that's like.
Yeah, 100%. So yeah, all good. Right, it's been again another busy week in terms of darting action. The World Series is now done. We've had all the events which tease up the World Series finals. I was expecting something announcement today, but it never happened, so I'm not sure what's going on. I thought we were going to get everything else confirmed today, but obviously not. No, we are always up to come over to the Emerald Isle and do a live lounge live from your darts cabin.
Yes, let's do that. We're due another live lounge live at some point.
Do they have proper internet in Ireland?
Mate, haven't you spent about 6 months of the year running a dial-up cable in someone else's telephone line?
Which, if I couldn't get proper internet in Nottingham, centre of the country, I'm a bit concerned about the middle of Ireland.
Yeah, but you forget Ireland's still part of the EU, so they'll be fine.
Yeah, they've got functioning democracy, haven't they?
Yeah, they're still part of the EU, so that will work as well. No, to be fair, Mark, it wasn't Pikey that said it to me. Someone else told me that something was due today, who I trust an awful lot. So I'm guessing something's gonna right. But I'm sure we'll get some news first or soon. Right, let's go to the World Series first of all. The final one in New Zealand, New Zealand Darts Masters. And look, plenty of talking points from the actual event. It was a blank again for the local players or qualifiers, whatever you want to call them. It was a blank again. Again, the best chance was Hopai Puhau losing out in the last leg decider to Rob Cross. Ben Robb, although he lost 6-3, had a golden opportunity to break and go 4-3 up.
He had a chance, didn't it? And it just from that moment, the game, like up until then, I thought he's going to get. I thought he's going to win this game, because you're almost there once you get that break at 4-3. You know, in that short format game, you're really close, and it just it just fell apart. Although I did like the way that he did embrace it. I don't know if everybody saw the card he was holding aloft the following day.
If only I could hit double four. I thought that was a real nice touch from.
He's took it in very good spirits, hasn't he? But Hopai Puhau probably the closest, but I think it was probably a better standard than we saw last time out in terms of the home offering. But I suppose still a lot of what we discussed last week applies, doesn't it? I think.
Yeah, look, I thought Johnny Tata looked decent, and we've seen him produce elsewhere. Caden Mine, who we know plays in the World Youth and everything like that. Again, he's lost 6-3 to Luke Humphries. He's averaged almost 90, so better.
I thought Mark Cleaver played at a gorgeous pace. Loved that.
Don't know. We're coming on to that because there were some quotes after that which were interesting, shall we say?
Beautiful. More of that, please, Mark.
But yeah, are we worried though for Simon Whitlock right now that hasn't looked anywhere near the wizard of old? Is in massive danger of not qualifying for the World Championships. That I think he'll keep his tour card this year, but next year he's right up against it. Are we worried that this is one rebuild too many for the Wizard?
Yeah, real concerned.
Yeah, I mean, yes, but no more so than I was in the last month. You know that the weekend. Yes, we saw him, and we saw him playing in a World Series event, but that weekend hasn't really affected it. I think he will. You know, looking at the numbers, keep his tour card this year. I cannot see how he keeps it a year after that. He's going to have to go. He's going to have to go and win something. You know, like in order to put. Or he's going to have to put because he's got virtually. He's essentially got nothing on his ranking going into that year where he's got to defend. He's earned nothing, virtually nothing. I know he's a few grand, but he's earned virtually nothing this year. So he's going to have to do his entire campaign of keeping his tour card in 1 year. So he's probably going to have to do 60 grand in a calendar year next year.
So next year he's defending 53.5 grand, which is 52% of all his money. This year to date, only earned 10,250 quid.
That's it. And he's not qualifying for anything. So he's not, so those bits that he's used to picking up of even a first round appearance at Ali Pali, he's not guaranteed that this year, which is a lump of this year that he isn't going to pick up. The earnings this year have been so low that he's going to have to do something big. I mean, it's whether or not he can produce it. And it's one big quarterfinal keeps his card. And we know he's got the game to do that. He's done it enough times before. It's whether he can just turn it on for long enough. And at the right moment. So I mean, it's certainly not a given. What I don't think is that I don't think he'll retain his tour card by sort of consistently going deep in Pro Tour events.
It's going to be a run from nowhere.
Yeah, over the course of a year. I don't think we're going to look back after a year and say that he's regularly made semi-finals, quarter-finals of Pro Tour events, which is, over the course of the year, picked up enough money to keep his card. I think what we might see is that, I mean, let's be honest, a generous draw at the UK Open, like that could help him a lot. We know that Whitlock can work his way through a tournament like that. If he can avoid some of the big boys and pick off a few of the lesser fancied players, then I think that's, if we do see him keep his card, that's what I think we'll see is a bit of a run out of the blue.
Yeah,
the motivation for Simon for this year and the next year, etc., is meant to be that he wants to play on tour with his son Mason. And I'm not sure that Mason's going to develop quick enough for Simon. Like, the worry is that the year that Mason kicks on could well be the year that Simon drops off. It's a little bit weird. Like, he's playing really, really well locally. Now, I know that's not PDC level at all, but there is a fair bit of talent down here. Like, we've seen enough of them at the Super Series. Like, they get plenty of call-ups because of the fact they are local and easy to get to, etc. But he's just not delivering when he walks through those doors at a PDC event.
No, 100%. But again, it was a clean sweep for the PDC representatives. But there's some, to come back to Ben Robb a minute, there were some positives from some of the media that he did out there that I think he's going to give it a real go. That go back to Q School, and if he wins it, do what Hopai and Damon have done and move over with his family for a period of time. They were the vibes and the signals that he was giving in the media that he did, which, look, I'm excited by that because I think there is a proper player within Ben Robb, one that could go and do Damon Heta things from the Oceanic region.
It's WDF number one. He just needs to add that extra gear to his game, doesn't he? Look, we've seen the levels that he can produce. I think his B game needs to go up a little bit if you're going to come over and compete full time. His A game is certainly there. Misses a few darts at double here and there, but so does everybody when you're trying to make an impact and an impression in a limited amount of time and space that region of the world gets the opportunity to do so. So look, he's certainly got something about him. He's comes across really, really well. He's a nice bloke, and he's got the fact that he's got people and connections over here now that make that transition, if he is to move over here full time, that little bit easier. He's got people that have been there and done it that he can lean on for advice and potentially even locate near or get that sort of help.
Yeah, he may not be now, Bob, but he was within the last month because those rankings change quite a lot because there's tournaments on all over the world, but he's certainly in contention for it. What happened to Cody Howe? I don't know. That's a good answer. But let's move on. This things we've got some other bits to talk about from the World Series. We've got some clips to play in a second. But then from the quarterfinals onwards, it is very much a Premier League feel, shall we say? Yes, there's obviously Dimitri and Damon that have come in, but it's still what we'd
could be a Premier League feel next year. could be next year's Premier League feel.
But very much so. Look, let's jump straight to the semi-finals because Luke and Luke met, I think, for the 11th time this year. And this is still one that Luke Littler will be wondering where this one got away. 6-2 up, multiple match starts across legs. That yes, Luke Humphries played very well in that 5-leg burst, but it was one that got away from the Nuke.
God, yeah. Like it was. I mean, it was done, wasn't it? At 6-2, it was absolutely finished. And then again at 6-2, you think, well, yeah, fine. He might not win 7-2, 7-3, but he's gonna get loads and loads and loads more chances, and he did, and then managed to get broken 3 times, didn't hold another leg, and before you know it, he's then throwing for the match, but in a decider, and the pressure's on, and he's playing. And I know we talk about Luke Littler like a lot and how good he is, but at 6-all, he's throwing for the match against the best player in the world. Like, statistically, the best player in the world. And it's tough at that point, but it got tough because he just couldn't close it when he needed to. Like, he had so many opportunities and they just slipped by. Important to remember, though, that, like, he's lost by an incredibly fine margin to the world number one.
100%.
Like, so some of the things that you see, and it's laughable, like, crashing out and do all that, like, he's lost by an unbelievably slim margin to the best player on the planet.
But 106 from the moment Littler went 6-2 up, by the way.
Yeah, exactly. So, like, it is what it is. But he's done. He will be kicking himself because he knows that he has the ability and the composure and everything else to have got that job done. Because he did all the right things early doors, and he pretty much beat him. And he just didn't quite underline it and finish it off. And I can imagine that he will be very frustrated by that.
Yeah, look, it was also an interesting game because of conditions. I've got a little clip to play before we play more of them, but I clipped this one up in particular because both Lukes had issues.
It did affect me. I can't lie. It's not an excuse. It was very, very hard to come back from. But when I put the heavier flights in, it seemed to help me a lot more. Luke actually changed his points to try and adapt, and it actually worked for him as well. I thought he started playing a lot better after the second break. But I just that's one word and one. I never give in, do I? As much as I was annoyed and disappointed, I didn't give in. I kept working hard, and if I didn't work hard, I wouldn't have got to bring the trophy home today.
So we've got one change in flights, one change in points at the break to combat the breeze, which was interesting that they've both done something to try and.
Well, this is becoming a real issue for Luke, isn't it? He was one of the more vocal ones throughout the Premier League, and you can't, not that you can't be a world number one and world champion, but if half the venues you play in are going to cause you issues, then something's got to change, either from the PDC perspective or the way that Luke plays the game.
Yeah, and it's interesting because he spoke about it more in depth. It's because of the length of his dart is the back end of his dart is longer than anyone else's I've ever seen. He uses an extra long stem.
It's a very short dart as well, isn't it? Like the balance in terms of all the other darts that we see regularly on there. I know people play with all sorts of weird and wonderful things, but in terms of what we generally see in the top 60 players regularly on the telly, it's a completely different setup. It looks completely different to what everybody else is using. The length, the barrel is so much shorter than we used to see it, and we've got such a long back end that, like, I think people realise how little sympathy I have for people, grumbling and moaning, especially with the Premier League and exhibition darts. People moaning about a breeze because it's in a 50,000 seat arena. Well, you're never going to be able to create conditions that aren't that of a 50,000 seat arena. But you can definitely see why Luke Humphries is affected more than lots of other players, because he just, without being an expert on the physics, it just seems to make sense that the breeze would have more effect on a setup like that than on a bog standard setup. But I then sort of think, well, he knows that. Yeah. And he knows he plays in all these venues, and he knows he plays in all these arenas, and that's the setup he still goes for. So, like he said there, he went for some slightly heavier flights, which changed things a little bit,
so it doesn't get knocked off in the air.
Yeah. It is what it is. My sympathy doesn't really extend too much on it. It's these are the conditions of playing the arenas in which they play, and the arenas in which they play are the reasons they get paid what they get paid. So yeah.
Second semi-final. Some talking points in terms of both players. One, great to see Damon Heta getting to a final, but a very good tournament for Peter Wright. Are we just seeing the emergence of Snakebite rediscovering himself? He's played some good darts down under. Arguably the best we've seen in 18 months.
Well, you went to the semi-finals there, and I just want to pull us back ever so slightly, just to the
German Price game.
Yeah, to the quarters, because that was, I mean, again, we haven't seen Peter Wright. So we haven't seen Peter Wright often of late. First of all, posting an average of 103, but second of all, posting an average of 103 and winning. Like what we've seen a lot from Peter Wright this year is in the moments when he has been able to find, subsequent good visits and lift his average up, he still managed to find a way to lose those games somehow quite often this year. So, but what we did see there was just a relatively professional, proper Peter Wright performance. Now, he's only taken one breaker throw off Gezi. He's broke him to go 2-1 up, and the rest of the matches stayed on throw. But Peter's average of 103 meant that Gezi never really was able to threaten it. It never looked in doubt. Once he took that break early, Peter looked very comfortable, and that I think is almost the headline. Is we haven't seen him. We haven't seen him just and yes, I know there's been games here and there, but in a big event, big crowd against one of the best players in the world, and Gezi's been playing some brilliant stuff lately. But to be able to just break him early, just professionally serve that game out, hold throw, average well, close it, move on to the semi-final, I think it was real positive signs for Peter.
Yeah, I agree that he's looked more of the old snakebite, which, considering where he was, I think that's a good thing, Gob.
Yeah, look, I don't want to say that we've been banging this drum over and over and over and over again, but he's kept a consistent setup for a number of weeks, and he's produced a level that has grown and grown and grown. He's got better with it, he's practiced with it, and he's produced results with it. The silly thing is, he'll rock up in the Pro Tours next week and he'll throw something completely different.
Yeah.
But it's a setup very similar to what we've seen from him before, have a lot of success with. Slightly shorter barrel by the looks of it. It looks like he's trimmed the World Championship first time darts to be slightly shorter in length.
It's the dumpier version of that.
But yeah, look, he's looked solid. He's looked sharp. He's been saying the right things, that he's going to win a major this year and he's going to do X, Y, Z. And he might genuinely be at a point where he's about to back it up. Luke and Luke have played an awful lot of darts over this year at a very, very high level. We know it's virtually impossible to maintain that throughout an entire calendar year. There are going to be dips. There are going to be moments when you can get at both of them. Michael is returning from surgery once again. We don't know what we're going to get from him whilst he's working on the action, etc. Price has told us that he's not interested in exhibition events, yet is performing better in exhibition events than he is anywhere else. Makes no sense. Aspinall's off the grid at the moment. Look, there are gaps right now. And that gap could be filled by Peter Wright, who's been there, who's done it, not once, but twice before as well. We've seen him have a rise and then a dip and then a comeback. He knows how to get himself going again. And look, if he's had the first half of the year as a dip and gets ready for the second half of the year, he could go and win trophies.
Absolutely. Anthony, good evening, my friend. Good to have you in the chat room. As always, from Texas. Andrew, no, not yet, but don't worry, we will. Luke Humphries goes on to win the final quite comfortably, played brilliantly to beat Damon Heta. One thing on this before we touch on some of the other things that were said down under, the Kyle Anderson Award went to Damon Heta. Just one, should it have gone to Damon Heta? Because I know it did last year as well, but my understanding is when this amazing trophy and award was brought in, it was meant to be for the Oceanic representatives, where Damon was picked as a PDC representative, not an Oceanic one, or am I splitting hairs?
I think the issue is none of them won a game.
I get that, but
it's a bit hard to award somebody for not winning.
Well, I've misunderstood. Like, if I'm genuinely and so I thought, yes, Damon Heta is the perfect winner of it because, and I've maybe just got the wrong end of the stick with. I thought that it was a more general sort of award that we used this point to hand out for someone who is representing the continent the best.
That's what I mean.
And I don't think over the course of the last year, since the last time we handed the trophy, you couldn't really argue that anyone else from that region has done more than Damon Heta to, for that region.
No, I agree, but for that region, 100%, he's been an absolute star. But I thought it was based on the oceanic representatives across these two World Series events.
Ah, right. Well, if that's the case, then it's a bit of an odd award. If that's what it in terms of for giving it to Damon, if that's what the award is for.
Yeah, I might be wrong, but I understood it was meant for that.
It depends what the award is for, I suppose, doesn't it? Obviously, and clearly, if we're not sure between us, then there's definitely some or a lack of solid understanding. If anyone in the chat room knows, specifically, that would be handy.
Right, let's play some clips. First of all, I am going to play this one. It's only 15 seconds, but we're gonna play it.
Yeah, just keep the mind up. Try to stay positive, and that's what I've done in that game because it wasn't easy. He was a slow player. He had antics, and obviously, he was one of the favorites in the crowd, so it wasn't easy to play.
Antics, slow player, wasn't easy to play.
Oh well.
Listen, that clip is one of my favourites of the whole entire year.
I don't even know where to start with that. And you know what? A little bit of me thinks, he's making it too easy. Like, it's not normally you have to, dig around, try and find something funny, try and pick a hole somewhere. Like, I honestly think that there is a potential layer that Dimmy's just trolling the world there. Like, is he just having us all on? I mean, funny, bizarre, an odd observation for somebody to be. He must be aware of the level of criticism that he gets, unless he's really sheltered from.
I'll phone him up and tell him if I have to. That was complete nonsense.
Like, I think he does. Is he one of these that stays away from social media, Dimmy? Is he does he read stuff? Does he read what people are saying?
He uses Instagram. I'm not sure if he uses.
It's like, I would say.
Yeah, anyone on Instagram, don't stop me. Jesus.
He must be the player in the world. Is it in? Get in. I backed him for half-time result. Yay. Yay. Dimmy must be, at the minute, the player who, in the world, is most known, infamous, let's say, for that sort of thing. So it is quite funny when he comes out and points at somebody else for it. Full respect to everyone that used the Spider-Man meme. Spider-Man's pointing each other. That's perfect. And perfectly fits the situation. Piss funny. Brilliant.
I like my Alanis Morissette. It's like rain on your wedding day.
Yes, that did tickle me. That. Well done. Yeah, that was a good one. Well done, Gob.
Honestly, when he said it on the Zoom, I'm trying not to laugh.
Yeah, are you fucking serious?
Like, how can you be that blissfully unaware?
Yeah, I reckon I could do a PowerPoint. Like, I could do a full presentation on that as an example of someone who is genuinely unaware of their position within the planet. It's just class.
Yeah, it did make me chuckle. An interesting one from let's hear from Peter next.
Yeah, definitely. I feel like I can win games now, and I'm looking forward to, as you say, the rest of the season. I believe, I've definitely got lots more to come, which makes me a pretty dangerous, wild card in any tournament now. instead of the favourites. You know, I can still win these tournaments.
Dangerous wild card. I like that.
I'm not sure how a former two-time world champion and a player that's won as much as he has can be a dangerous wild card, especially when you talk up your own game as often as Peter does. But yeah, look, things get interesting now.
Yeah. Well,
yeah. That is it's which angle he wants to come from. Is you can't come out saying I'm going to win a major, I'm this, I'm that, and I'm also a wild card. You can't be both of those. You can't wear both of those. You can't wear both of those wacky trousers, Peter. You need to pick a pair of wacky trousers and stick with them.
Yeah. Let's hear from the Nuke next. And again, this is an interesting take of his mindset as well.
It's always good when you get back to winning ways, no matter how you do it. But I'm happy with that performance, and I can't wait for tomorrow. Hopefully, another long day.
Yeah, look, last week we know you've lost games before, but it was a real hammering. How was that to take in the final?
I don't really know. Played well in the semis. Come off, had a practice beforehand, and just it didn't happen. It was one of them games that you've just got to say well done to the winner and just get on with the next one.
Do you take anything from defeats like that? Because we saw all a learning curve for you, and it's all been winning and on an upward trajectory. So did you learn something from the defeat?
It just happened. I don't really learn anything from defeat. I just pick myself back up and go again. But I know they'll come around very quick, and like I said, I'd like to pick up another major this year, no matter what it is.
Liar.
Which bit?
I was about to say which bit.
One, he said he was looking forward to tomorrow. Last week, he couldn't wait to be home. All of a sudden, he wants to stay another day. Secondly, he said he had a practice. The kid never practices.
Well, you know, the bit I picked up on, and I think sometimes it's the reason why he's so good is that I think some of the things that he does and the way that he develops, it's like you could spend an awful lot of years trying to coach it into people, and some of it he just does naturally. There was just an interesting line he said towards the end of that, and he said, "Well, I don't really learn anything from defeat. He doesn't learn from defeat, but he just wants to like pick up, carry on, and go again." I think, well, that's one of the he's almost sort of he has learned from defeat. You know, he's already managed to learn from defeat this mindset of, well, that happens, and I understand it happens, and it'll happen plenty more times this year, and I know that I'm going to win again, and I just want to get on with the next game and play. And I know that I've still got this game and I'm going to win something big. Like, I would say that whilst he might not think he's learning something from defeats, I think he's done an awful lot of learning from defeats, even if he hasn't realised it, because his mindset really demonstrates that he has in the way that he views the fact that he's been beaten and what happens next, and that he knows the game is there and he just goes again.
Yeah. Good one from Bobby Cross as well.
I've not really played a lot this year on Pro Tours. I've been enjoying the stage and it's been working for me, and I've really enjoyed it. I will have to look to try and fix that because I'm nowhere near that top 64 before your next question. I'm aware, but yeah, it gives me I suppose it gives me about 8 because I'm not playing the next ones either. So 8 or 10 or whatever it is, and hopefully we'll be fine. So yeah, trying to get the balance and stuff. Yeah, I didn't want to put myself in this position, but I wouldn't change any of it. I deserve to sit where I sit, and as a fully grown man, I'll sort of hopefully I'll dig myself out of that hole, you know, and don't end up like Nathan or Peter last year.
Quite a refreshing take that he's like, yes, I am not where I need to be, but it's my fault, not shirking it, and let's put it right.
Yeah, I disagreed with you about him having a good run down under. I think he's been one of the players that has not disappointed, but he hasn't shown what he can do. And this is the Cross that perhaps rocked up at the start of the Premier League, that we expected that a little bit more from. He's gone and put in some good performances. The hope is that he gets this cycle right, because if he's going to have ups and downs, he needs to get these ups right when he's heading into the majors. If you're going to faff around, look, you're going to be in the World Series finals. You've done your job. Superb. So, look, as long as he can peak the right time to go and pick up a trophy for the back end of the year, that his form, let's be honest, quite richly deserves. Rob Cross has been one of the best players on Planet Darts for the last 18 months. He went about his business really nicely, but under the radar last year, got into the Premier League, perhaps let himself down, has had a solid 2024 so far, I think. Got a peak for the right moments in the back end.
Yeah, but that's why he's number 4. Is he number 4 in the world still? Provisional number 3 after depending on what happens at Ali Pali. Like he's
originally could be 2.
Yeah, he's there, isn't he? He's right up there. But just you're right. If he is going to peak and trough a little bit, he's almost got to find a way to guide and direct that where it can be most profitable to him, isn't he?
Yeah, 100%. Right, the last one we'll do from the World Series is Damon Heta, because he gives a little bit of an insight into what we were talking about last week. And obviously, a lot of our Australian listeners got in touch, whether that be through DM or private message or whatever, and a bit of an insight into Australian darts. So we'll play this and then we'll just touch on a few bits.
Got the job done. I didn't go above and beyond with celebrations and trying to put myself out there because I don't know. I think it was like a bit of a respect thing, and I don't mean to do it. I think it just came naturally. I wanted to. I think I wanted to, but then I think I would look like a douche if I did. Like all those thoughts were just going through my head where I should just play my own game and I should just do that, but it didn't happen. But at the end of the day, I got the win, and that's all that matters. Yeah, 100%. I really felt it in Australia, and I should have done better. I was absolutely disgusted, to be fair. I didn't play well, and not only that, I still got a few legs there, and I should have got I should have just played my standard game, and I would have been all right. Like that's how I felt, and I was like, just bring it all the time. But yeah, I mean, I've got to take it as a game at a time. As long as I just keep playing my game, I should be all right. But like you said, it's another opportunity. I would love nothing more than to win another World Series rather than just being known as the Brisbane Darts Masters. Like, I'd love another one. There's no two ways about it. So all I do is put my head down, not think about it, not try too hard, have a bit of fun like I did tonight. Just get the job done. Just do demo things, you know what I mean?
Okay, nice to hear him talk. And also in that interview, he went on to talk about the politics within Australian darts and how people are boycotting different organisations because of the people that run them. We had a lot of people contact me, I don't know about you, Gob, as well, because we spoke about it a lot last week, that internally Australian darts seems in a real mess right now. That you've got certain top players will play in one organisation, certain top players will play in another, because one doesn't like the ones that are running this one doesn't like the ones that are running this one, and it just seems an absolute mess. I won't give the person away that told me this, but it was the fact that Raymond Smith will not play DPA events because of the people that run them. That was the line that's come out. But also the other way, there are people that won't play in the ADC Oceanic events because the people that run them. It seems an absolute mess down under domestically. And look, I know we opened the lid on it last week a little bit, but thank you for everyone that did get in touch and comment on this situation. It seems a real mess, boys.
I don't think this is a problem just resigned to the Oceanic region either, by the way. Look, it is clearly a problem in the Oceanic region. One of traditionally the strongest regions to produce players from, like we've spoken about Simon and Damo and Corey and Kyle, and you look at players that have gone on to go to the WDF World Championships or the BDO World Championships, and we're talking about Ben Robb as WDF number 1 or number 2 at the moment, etc. So there are ways to be able to succeed, but this feels very similar to the issues that we've heard about in South Africa in particular from Simon Adams and Devon Peterson. I've done an awful lot of reading on that subject. I think not necessarily right now, but these issues may have been an issue in North America, but they seem pretty back on track at the moment. Even in the UK, people won't play WDF events, people won't play BDO events because of, you go back as far as 5 years ago, because the Jacquelines are running this one, or the PDC do this, or the ADC do this and they're in charge, or when it was called MAD, etc. Like, this isn't just an issue resigned to Australasia. And
correct.
I've seen what happens in the world of pool when this happens, and pool was on Sky Sports 20 years ago, etc., and is only just finding its feet once again. And even then, there are 4 or 5 different rule sets and politics involved. But because there's a little bit more money, people are prepared to put that aside right now. It's just madness how this can continue to happen in a sport that is rapidly growing as one of the most developing in the world. And that's not just naivety from a UK standpoint where it is massive, like television audience wise, the number of people that are playing it, how easy and accessible this sport is to play compared to others, by the way.
Oh yeah, 100%.
But do you think though that is one of the reasons why you do get so many people that think they can, run it and organize it? Because let's be honest, these situations don't occur in ice hockey because it's a fucking nightmare to try and get to try and run anything, even a very small minor league, is such a bloody logistical nightmare that either it doesn't exist and you can't run a league, you can't do it, or you all have to get along. Whereas darts sometimes is its own
ice hockey leagues in the entirety of the UK.
Yeah, exactly. But
one of them to close shop at the top, and the other two are regionalised. Like it's just not possible. But even darts at local level, right? Depending on where you are in a country, depends on how good the uptake has been for things like the ADC, who's pushing it at that, who's stuck in their ways with. Like, don't get me wrong, darts in this area is actually pretty solid, but there aren't a lot of vaults. A lot of players in this area get called up to things like the Super Series because they live close, and actually they're a nice little fill-in, or if we have a dropout, or someone that's played to a decent enough level. But there are darts 2-3 nights a week here. Tuesday night out in Southampton, Wednesday night in Waterlooville. There's Sunday competitions once a month, etc. And all of those are little series within each other that haven't progressed into vaults, that could have progressed into vaults. They've got enough boards there. They've got enough people turning up. They can run multiple vaults at the same time if they need to keep up with the demand of 50, 60 players turning up to these events. But they're not. They're still stuck with what they do, their payout structure, and how they go about these things. I've got friends that run one of them. Same with Phil.
Yeah.
But that could have been a vault. That could quite easily have been a vault.
100%. And for people that don't know what we're talking about, look, it's the Portsmouth Dart Series and the Southampton Dart Series are the two in particular that have stayed independent.
But there's one in Gosport on a Sunday that runs once a month, and you have to attend 5 to play your finals, etc. But that's capped entries as well, so that's even more difficult. And all of these things could have progressed into vaults where there are pathways.
Yeah. No, but it was just interesting the way, obviously, when we spoke about it last week in Oceanic region, that then a lot of people got in touch, and I didn't realise how deep-rooted the problem was until you start, when you've got, look, Raymond Smith is arguably the best player domestically in the Oceanic region. It'd take a strong case to say he's not certainly top 2. But when he's taken the stance of, I'm not playing in this because of the people that are running it, it's a strong stance considering the pathways that particular organisation has.
Is this where the PDC need to step in?
Possibly. I don't know. The honest answer is I don't know. Because although it is a PDC affiliated tour, how much say do they have? I don't know.
And that's the difficulty.
They can rock up and go, if this guy isn't removed and we get people back on board, then you lose your connections.
But then the danger is, if you can't find someone else to replace the person, that just folds, and then there isn't an affiliated tour.
Yeah.
The danger there as well is in terms of, you can rock up and do this and you can do that, but you can't just rock up and do this. You are potentially spreading yourself very thin when you start to try and, like, the supervision and control of these remote tours around the world. The Asian tour seems to manage itself and doesn't, it seems like it's a bit of a light touch for the PDC in terms of them having to deal with problems that arise and things like that. It appears from the outside to be a bit of a light touch. You almost know from the get-go that Australia is not, or Oceania isn't going to be the case. It needs boots on the ground who can implement that PDC structure, vision, way of working, everything else. And how, have you got that staff? Can you spread yourself thinly enough to get over to there? I say, my view remains the same. Is that there is an opportunity there for an organisation to either be formed or a branch of another one to move into that area. But I think it needs more than an organisation. Like, I think you can go in and say we're the PDC. Everyone's problems remain. Nobody's problems are solved by someone having a nice set, some branding and says PDC on it. You almost need people to lead. You need people to go there who people will follow and want to get on board with. And that I think is going to be the biggest challenge for anybody that tries to really pull things together over there.
Last question then. Should the PDC be providing people to do that? Pay someone to go relocate to Australia and be the face and the head of an affiliated tour?
Well, my view is yes.
Yeah.
But they've got commercial arms and marketing and everything else that they've got resources-wise back in.
Yes. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, that's what you need.
Wherever it is that they're all based. But should they be looking at this? Not necessarily North America. They're absolutely smashing it. But they're already sending Russ to Asia. Now, I don't think Russ does an awful lot of logistics, but actually he's a face, he's a name, and he draws people in with that. Should they be sending someone similar, or someone? The amount of markers and floor tournament directors and whatever else that the PDC have in that system, if you offered one of them 40, 50 grand to relocate a year to go to Australia and be your official face of it, one of them would probably snap your hands off for it.
I don't think that's what it needs, though. I genuinely think it needs a regional CEO. That's what it needs. It needs someone who can get there, organise things, run and develop an organisation, but utilise and understand all of the advantages that you can have by drawing upon the PDC's resources. Someone who can coordinate the resources that are available from the PDC, marketing and media and all the stuff that's based sat over here. But a regional chief exec sat over there managing and developing that region is, for me, the way forward. But yes, the short answer to the question is yes, I think the PDC should be the people who do it. But I also think, well, why wouldn't they? They want to do the people who will benefit more than anybody else from the game developing in another region of the world is the PDC. Let's not make any mistakes about it. Like, they will benefit more than anyone else. So they've got more to gain. So therefore they should be the ones to go out there and try and sort it out.
Yeah, and look, from there we obviously go to the World Series finals next month. The top 8 on the order of merit are set, which is Luke Littler, Gowen Price, Rob Cross, Luke Humphries, Michael Van Gerwen, Michael Smith, Peter Wright, Dimitri Van den Berg. And we spoke in our WhatsApp chat. If you're in the bottom half of the draw, you've got a right opportunity.
Oh, yes.
Here, when Littler, Humphries, and MVG are all in the top.
Yeah, absolutely.
But by the rules or the qualifying criteria that was set out, it's then 9 to 16 on the order of merit. Now, do we know how you do count back on the World Series? Because you can't use the normal PDC rule because it's clearly not fair. And the reason I say that is you've got Damon Heta, Nathan Aspinall both on 11, so they're fine. Stephen Bunting and Gian van Veen are fine. But then you've got Boris Kirchmar, Johan Instrom, Jeff Smith, Kevin Dukes, Danny Noppert, and Raymond van Barneveld all on 3 points. How are you separating them fairly into, because it says 9 to 16 on the order of merit. How are you separating them?
How many spots do they go into?
So there's 8 spots. So you've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 players for 4 spots.
That might be why there's a delay.
Possibly.
Are you playing this year?
There you have it, sports fans. It's yeah, I mean, the short answer is absolutely not a bloody clue.
No.
Not a bloody clue.
We don't know if Nathan Aspinall is going to be ready to play. So potentially it may be only one they've got a thing. But if Nathan is fit to play, if all the treatment has gone well, then it's 6 players into 4 places.
Yeah, and I haven't even got I've got nothing to offer. I don't know. Like I don't even know what. Like sometimes I can throw a theory out, even if it's just to try and like cause a debate. But I ain't got a bloody. I don't know where you'd even start. I don't know what you'd do.
What about if Barney gets that sofa that he bought a few years ago, puts Danny Noppert on the other end of it, and they throw darts in tandem and they play as one?
Yeah.
Yes.
Jamie,
I'm buying a ticket to that.
And they don't
Jamie,
enter as Barney and Noppy, they enter as the sofa.
No, so Jamie, the PDC announced earlier on this year what the format was going to be because there's an extra session. They've moved it to 24 players. So we know what it is. It's just a case of how they're going to separate them, and we don't know.
And it's not far off, is it?
No.
13th of September.
Yeah.
Less than 4 weeks away.
But also missing out, Simon Whitlock will miss out on an automatic spot, which is something he's been guaranteed for years in the World Series.
I think it's the first time for a very long time that we won't see Simon Whitlock at that tournament, isn't it?
Well, he's still got hope. He could come through the tour card holder qualifier, which is held this Friday. But what next for the World Series? Because when we look at this year, the events, obviously Bahrain, Holland, US, Nordic, Poland, Australia, New Zealand. What next for the World Series? And Gob, you can't say Bennett because that's not going to happen.
All right, fuck it off. You need to decide what the World Series is for. That's what the PDC need to do. This whole flirting around with growing the game in areas, well, actually, all they're concerned about is, does that country pay us money for a TV deal, is a load of bollocks. And it needs calling out instantly. It's not growing the game. The fact that the Netherlands had a regional event and then the finals the last couple of years is an absolute joke. Doesn't need it. You need to get into nations that are starting to emerge, that are producing players, and that showcasing those players against the big guns will grow the sport even more. You also need to stop sending the 8 players that play in the Premier League unless they're injured or unavailable. You need to mix up. You've got the top 24, even players inside the top 32 that are commercially viable. Not necessarily as viable as a Van Gerwen, but at the start of next year, there needs to be a rotation. Even if you say 16 players are going to be our representatives over the 5 or 6 events, and they all play 3 out of the 5 or 4 out of the 6, and they all miss 2, and the 2 that they all miss work out in a nice little rotation that certain players play here, there, and everywhere. So we get a better blend of players that get the opportunities to get through these rankings that make it that little bit more competitive. They want to then put on a show, but that actually open up the door to these local players having a crack at not the 8 players that play in the Premier League. The standard for the last couple has been a little bit miserable.
Oh no, I agree, and no, Josh, I don't think you're being miserable. I haven't enjoyed the World Series as much this year. Like, I love the New York event. There's no secret about that. But overall, have I enjoyed the World Series this year? Not particularly.
I was going to say, I'm going to say that's absolutely sod all to do with the darts and everything to do with the fact that you got to go to bloody New York. Oh yeah, if they had a darts match at Disneyland, it was shit. But Disneyland was brilliant.
But yeah, no, I agree. I think the World Series has lost its identity at the moment.
You think of areas in Europe that are great, like Italy, have produced a number of players that have been to Q School and Challenge Tour and got a tour card holder for the first time. We're looking at the Nordic and Baltic region that continue to be very, very strong, that have less opportunities to qualify for the Euro Tour these days. Crack on, get World Series in those, prove that it's more sustainable, and grow the game of darts, because look, it's there for the taking in those regions. They play a lot of snow sport. Get stuff inside. France, another one that we've had 2 players come through now. You're going to lose that impact. Lava is dropping off as it stands.
the difficulty is with it, and like for you, when you say it's lost its identity, so like lots and lots of people that I have around me in life don't know anything about darts. Like loads of people at work, like they know that I'm into darts, they're not into darts. And whenever there's something going on, they'll say like, "What's this? What's that? You know, what's that event you're going to in Blackpool? Oh, it's the World Match Play. What's that then? All right. Well, how it works is you qualify like this, and if you're ranked here, you do that. Then they have this knockout tournament like a bracket, right? And it's really easy to explain. And if you know nothing about darts, you can just go, oh, yeah, this is what the match play is. This is what the Grand Prix is. This is what the Grand Slam is. If somebody says to you, what's the World Series? Like, what's that? You sort of go, well, it's sort of like, it's not on the telly. Well, how do you qualify for it? Well, you don't. You get picked. Well, how would you get picked? Good walk-on song. Nice trousers. I don't know. Like, so how do you get picked? Then you play some local lads, and then there's this final at the end, which is like, that's even harder to explain to people that don't understand. Everyone that knows about darts gets it. If you don't understand darts, they'll say, well, hang on, some of these lads play in like 11 events or 7 events or over the course of the years, and they qualify for the final. But some of these other lads only get playing one event. Well, that's not fair. No, it's not. But they can all qualify for the final. Yeah. Bit of an exhibition. It's very difficult to like not feel silly when explaining it to someone who knows nothing about darts, and I think that's the identity crisis, because someone should be able to say to you, "What's that tournament?" Oh, well, it's this. This is how it works. This is how you qualify. This is what you do. The Premier League's easy. You say it's an exhibition. They pick 8 players that'll fill arenas, and Sky put it on every Thursday night. It makes loads of money, and it pays for the rest of darts. It's great. But the World Series is a bit of an odd, because it does have a bit of an identity crisis, because things change. You know, it changes, and then it's difficult to see, well, why are we not going to that country anymore? And why are we going to this country anymore? Why are we going to this? Why are we going to... It's difficult to work out.
I think, look, Phil won't like this, but part of the issue is the Premier League as well. If that format doesn't change, the effect of the World Series is lost, because by the time we get to the second round, what we have? 3-4 players that have managed to pick up wins that aren't the Netherlands, Benelux, what a load of bollocks that was. That aren't those players that are on tour regularly competing against the top 8. So it's been the top 8 playing against each other just in different places. It's been the Premier League all over again. Like you said, Luke and Luke have played each other 11 times already. That's a joke.
No, I don't disagree.
It wasn't last year.
Special, and they're special because they happen 2-3 times a year. When Taylor used to play Barney, Sky used to give it both barrels for about 6 fucking weeks because they don't play each other very often. But now they play each other every 20 minutes. It's ridiculous. Like, those games aren't special anymore.
Chris makes a good point as well, because this is another reason why I have a bit of a bee in my bonnet about it. And it's not the Premier League just on tour, because the year that Chris Dobie played in the Premier League, how many World Series events did he play in?
No.
I'll tell you, the square root of fuck all. That's how many he played. So it's a very, and again, so it's hard, isn't it? Because then you think, oh well, if you're in the Premier League, you're in the World Series. No, you're not. Just when you think you are, you're not. Very funny. We're going to see different events. I think we'll see different countries again. Whether they'll be the countries we all want to see, I don't know. You won't see Sydney again. Do you know? Because Sydney is the only remaining World Series event, which is why where Phil Taylor is the reigning champion. It's the only one left. Everything else is obviously somebody else has won it subsequently. But because of the timing when they stopped doing the Sydney Darts Masters, Phil Taylor remains the reigning champion.
So is that like Michael Smith is still the reigning Shanghai Darts Master?
Correct. Yeah. Yeah. He's never undefeated. He kind of undefeated in Shanghai. Like, he's never been beat. But yeah, Phil Taylor still a reigning champion of a PDC event.
The first one the year need billing off. Bahrain and Dutch Masters don't need to be there. One of them's paid for, the other one's an absolute joke. Putting Dimmy in there as Benelux was a fucking shower of shit as well. US needs doubling up with Canada. Nordic, I like. Poland, I don't mind. Would love to see that turn into a Euro Tour to free up a bit more room on the World Series, though. Then I'd go Asia, at least the Philippines, if not one other, and South Africa next year. Maybe Europe, in Italy, France, somewhere like that.
Italy, please.
But you don't need to be in Bahrain. You don't need to be in the Netherlands. And if it ends up in Saudi, just shoot the fucking lot of us.
Look, we know at some point there will be a darts competition in Saudi. We know it's going to happen.
Name it the World Series will be a joke. Just put it on as an exhibition. Don't even put the PDC logo on it. Just release your players for it.
Yeah, look, we know that's going to happen at some point. It's just a case of when. But I'm interested to see what happens, because I think I'd love to see the North American doubleheader. I think Asia is too big to ignore. I think the PDC needs to go back there. I just look at what the Asian Tour players did at the World Championship and what the Asian Tour has done this year. It's too big to ignore.
Yeah, and they've got the venues. The difficulty is like Japan. Some of the venues in Japan are like unbelievable, but you won't get an atmosphere that matches.
Culture is way too polite.
Yeah, this is like, because I'm a weirdo, watch sumo a lot. Like I literally watch the 5 sumo tournaments, as you two both know. And you know, some of the venues and some of the spectacle that they put on in terms of sport over there, but everything about the way that they watch sport is different to what we in the West, you know, expect to see. And I can see people watch events in Japan and think like, oh, why is nobody interested? Nobody cares. No, they deeply care. They just
watch it and take it in completely different.
Yeah, they take it on completely differently. Like, and sometimes maybe we should do some ambassadorial work. Maybe we should bring them over to Minehead for a weekend and see how, you know, see if they can bring back some of that culture. But it's probably not a good thing, is it? Really?
I tell you what, that stirred up some of our North American fans in there. Peter Satira in the house. We'd love the North American doubleheader. Yes, we would. So would Preston.
The thing with that is, and this is why it's almost like it should happen, because there's loads of stuff like we can all like we've maybe mentioned 10 different places, you know, in the last 5 minutes. And everyone, whilst they're all like a bit of a good idea, like you can say a reason why it wouldn't be a good idea. You know, everything's got a sort of a plus and a negative a little bit. There is nobody yet that has given me any reason why we shouldn't back to back something in New York with something over the border in Canada. Like, it makes complete sense. The way the travel route and the calendar works, it makes sense. I haven't found anyone that's given me any reason why that's not absolutely the next logical thing we should be doing.
There's something to do with different states having different rules in Canada.
The two stumbling blocks for the Canadian event are the different provinces within Canada are all funded differently, I believe. And also it goes back to not having a broadcast partner in Canada.
We've got one in North America. Just put it on ESPN. Crack on. I will say this, though. As much as I'm itching for that second event in North America, I don't think it should be there long term. For me, the idea of the World Series is get in, make an impact, inspire, and then get out and go somewhere else. The World Series becomes stagnant when you sit in the same regions for too long.
Yeah, no, I don't disagree.
It should be a tool for growth. And once you've got in and put some growth in, you need to get back out again to see if that growth is sustainable self-sufficiently within that nation or within that region, and go and expand, go elsewhere. If you're going to put World Series in Europe, they should be in nations where you're going to then attempt to turn those into European Tour events. They shouldn't be legacy World Series events.
Yeah, look, you can do the couple in North America and then move down to the Caribbean area and then into South America. Yeah, Preston, but I don't think they've got deals with the PDC is the issue. But look,
quite a bit.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't get that in the UK.
Yeah. Look, it's an interesting one where we go next for the World Series. But
I think the growth line is a bit bollocks as well from the PDC, Josh. But it's the same with a development tour as well. If you're going to name it these things and have these mission statements for these things, then stick to it.
Yeah.
Because at the minute, short-sighted, how much can we line our pockets in the next 6 months seems to be defeating long-term. Actually, if we create growth in these regions, then we'll be better off. And someone just needs to take a step back, look at the future as a whole and go, actually, we can crack a hell of a lot more if we put some resource into it rather than go, or they put us on the telly, so we'll give them another event.
Will they pay for the event? Like Bahrain?
That one.
So yeah, that's the World Series all done and dusted. Look, there was a bit of a sour note for darts last week. The news broke that Leighton Bennett had been suspended. Look, obviously, it will be the same principle that we've said on the others, that we won't comment on the actual cases until there is an outcome and a suspension. I think that's only right, gents, that we don't comment on the investigation itself because we don't know what's gone on. But again, not a good day, especially for someone as young as Leighton, potentially not throwing his career away, because you can come back, but it's a massive dent in a young man's career potentially.
I would suggest not just career. I would suggest just their general standing in society, and it is important to remember that nobody's been found guilty of anything yet, and no one's actually, the investigation is ongoing. However, should somebody be deemed to have transgressed in such a way that they have, adapted what they were doing within their game to influence things because of betting interests, then you lose, in my opinion, more than just you lose the option of the career that you are pursuing, but you do lose more, I think, in the wider society. You lose your integrity and your general good name, which to a lot of people, to some people maybe that doesn't fucking matter, but to many people that is quite important. That they are able to walk into a pub and hold their head up and see people and look their family and children in the eye and know that they have done the right thing, even when no one was looking. But it's a very difficult thing for somebody to then sort of put themselves back together after transgressing in a way like that. Very a bit sad in a way. I find it quite sad that these things continue to go on. And I think there are a number of different factors involved. And I'm not talking about this one, this specific case. I'm very much talking in general, that there are a number of different factors that drive people to commit these offences, or when they are proven to be committed. Sometimes it's just greed. Often it's not. Often there's lots of other factors involved as well. I genuinely find it quite sad, because I think that Leighton Bennett specifically has been identified by lots of people for a very long time as being a potential future superstar of darts. I think if, again, big if with underlines underneath it, but if he has done what it has been suggested he has done, then I think it's just very sad for darts, because we will potentially miss out on something that we all looked forward to, which was that the potential that he has being realised, and we may not see that potential be realised, or we might see it be realised in a completely different way. But at the same time, frustrating in a way that it happens and it goes on. But I think we'd all be very naive to think that these things don't happen. I think it's good that if something has gone on, it's been found out. think it's very important to bear in mind that whilst we've all been relentlessly exposed to videos of people playing darts and very small clips of particular darts matches that have been shared quite widely, that isn't generally what prompts an investigation and what things are looked at. Like, that comes out afterwards and someone says, oh, well, have a look at the footage of that game. There are other mechanisms and other things in place that help the authorities and the governing bodies and the regulators identify when foul play has been afoot, whether that be with suspicious gambling patterns or various other things. But I just find the whole situation very, like, if I'm brutally honest, I just find the whole situation very sad indeed.
Look, there is a positive in this as well, and it should be it shouldn't be underestimated that, look, if and when people are crossing the line, that the mechanisms in place are catching them. So that should send out a warning to anyone that even thinks about it. You will get caught, because in the digital world we live in, there's no hiding place, and these mechanisms are catching the cheats. So in terms of the sport, that you can't control what an individual does, but the mechanisms are in place and are working and are catching these cheats.
Yeah, I mean, definitely. I mean, clearly, and this is the thing. Like, so you have this theory, and again, I don't want to talk about my job a lot, but like, sometimes you notice something that you think is going wrong, because all of a sudden you notice, 5 or 6 things that have happened, and you think, oh, fucking hell, this is a disaster. Like, this is 5 times this has happened now. Whereas in reality, when you actually go and reflect on it and look closer at it, it's probably happened 5 times every 6 months for the last 10 years. It's just we're getting much, much, much better at finding out, and understanding what's going on and identifying problems and finding them. And I think I think you make a really good point, Phil, in that, let's be honest, nobody does anything for the first time. If there's a scam if there's a scam going around, like, rest assured, if someone is having a go at it now, someone else has done it 4 or 5 times before. But and I genuinely think that the reason we are starting to see more people be caught, which is a good thing, because it means we are getting better at identifying when these things are happening. There are so much more measures in place now in terms of, and it's not just digital. I was talking to a lad fairly recently who works for a bookie. And it's not just, your digital footprint, if you like, your digital stamp that you go on your online bookmaker and back, this bet for this darts match. And someone at some point thinks, fucking hell, that's not normal. But these things are monitored now, like in shops. If you walk into a bookmaker's and you're an unfamiliar person to that bookmaker, bookmakers are like corner shops. They service the local people. Like, the people aren't going out of town bookmakers, and if they are, that's for a reason. So they start to realise, there's a strange bloke, we've never seen him before. He's come in, he's dropped 400 quid on the most obscure darts bet ever. Like, that's weird. So it's not just digital. It's just that the entire world is starting to smarten up to some of these things. If it is happening in one place, then rest assured it's happening everywhere. Of course it is. But
you look at other sports that it happens in. It's happened in cricket.
Mate, we spent £45 on a central midfielder who I still can't watch play for bloody Newcastle.
We look at the impact it had in snooker, and even recently, we saw a fight on a big-time boxing card, on a World Championship boxing card, get pulled 2 hours before because of something that had been identified. But again, the mechanisms are working and are catching them. But my one thing on this that came out from the DRA statement is this has been ongoing since September last year. Then we're only getting this case to answer now, look, we all know, because he said it himself in his interview, that he had his phone taken off him at Q School. We said that in the interview with Dan Dawson when he won his card. Again, I go back to the DRA, and the timescale of them doing stuff needs to be improved.
They're not fit for purpose in any way, shape, or form. And actually,
Bob, if you genuinely think that there is an opportunity out there for people to get on the scam and that they're not doing it, that is an incredibly. I mean, I to be honest, I'm a bit jealous of your worldview, because it's a very, whilst slightly naive, it's quite a beautiful one. But I think for you to think that that problem or those things going on would be only limited to one particular very small channel of a big sport is incredibly naive. I think that where betting happens on sport, any sport, there is the potential for spot fixing. There is always the potential. And if there's the potential, somewhere, promise you, it's happening. Somewhere in the sport of football, there is some spot fixing going on. Somewhere in the sport of ice hockey, there is some spot fixing going on. Wherever there is the potential for it, then it is going on. The important thing is, when it does go on, somebody finds it and it's dealt with.
Yeah, 100%. And say, look, we're not going to comment on the individual case because it's still an ongoing investigation that has to run its course. I just hope that that's done swiftly compared to other DRA cases.
Yeah, look, the speed that the DRA acts with and the severity of the punishments needs to be as maximised as possible right now, because clearly, look, we've sat here and said how brilliant it is that Nyman's turned his life around and that he was one that got caught, cooperated, and is back on the tour within 18 months. I'm concerned now that there are players out there going, well, I'll do exactly the same. And the risk for 18 months of my career isn't as severe because of their age or because of the fact they'll just go, yeah, all right, I did it. Can I be back playing within a year? That ain't enough now. The strongest punishments need to be handed out to anybody that is found guilty by the DRA of any wrongdoing in terms of match fixing.
I agree. Yeah.
Because people aren't looking at McKinstry anymore, getting 8 years. People aren't looking at Stephen Lee in snooker anymore, getting 10 years, because that was 9.5 years ago. But people need to be looking at the next person to be found guilty by the DRA as, holy shit, that's a lot. I'm never doing that. That ain't worth the risk.
Yeah, and that's the thing. The punishment has to send out to anyone there that this won't be tolerated, that we are going to catch you, and this is the punishment if you get caught. Like the snooker players that got banned, what was the shortest one? 8 years?
A couple got 2 or 3, I think.
It's got to be life altering. As much as I genuinely come at it from a point of view where I think it's desperately sad that there are. I think it's different when, I don't know. It feels a bit different, this one, and it's because, let's be honest, it's because of his age and because of the potential that that we all thought we were going to get to, hope still that we will get to see. But whilst I find it very sad, the only way you can get there has to be a deterrent. It has to be not worth chancing, doesn't it? It has to be not worth trying.
Well, it's not the same, but it is. Look at doping in sport, right? The bans that are given out for doping in sport aren't strong enough because everyone's now, hang on a minute, this is worth the risk. Oh, yeah. Doping in sport, like 90s and early 2000s, the bans were huge.
Oh, they're huge, and they changed careers. Like, and they're just randomly pulling one out. You look at, Dwayne Chambers. You know, Dwayne Chambers got caught doping and essentially lost his career. Like, I don't know, I can't remember how long he got, but you know, it's something like 7 years or something like that. And what is the average career length of a 100 meters runner at elite level? You know, able to compete.
I think he got back to the relay team, but he never competed at individual level.
No, and he should have been someone who consistently reached the podium of massive events. And again, that was probably, you know, that was a sad one, but he obviously felt that either he had to do it in order to compete, or that he, you know, it was worth the risk. But Christ, it wasn't, because he lost his career. You know, we've seen cycling. You know, I can watch a lot of
7 years
cycling.
later, Justin Gatlin did exactly the same as Dwayne Chambers and was back within 2 years.
Yeah, well, and exactly. And
Never said sorry. Never apologized. Was like,
cycling's done a brilliant job. Like,
a joke.
Cycling was a filthy, horrible, like the worst sport on earth in terms of just filthy, you know, corruption and just everyone was full of gear. Like, it was literally a competition, not of who's the best team, but who had the best chemists. Like, which team is the best at chemistry. But cycling has done a very, very good job in terms of how it's cleaned up that sport, what it's done, and how it's now regulated, and how it's then not only just re-regulated itself, but then rebranded itself on the way out to almost become a very, very different sport to what it looked like 15 years or so ago-ish. And I'm not suggesting that really any other sport is anywhere close to being like where cycling got to. But, like, where you have got these, you know, rotten apples, I don't mean people by that, I just almost mean things, you know, these little rotten things that are going on somewhere in your sport. You do have to take fairly both swift and effective action to get it back on track.
Yeah, 100%. And like you say, the punishments now need to put the fear of God into people. So, fingers crossed, we get the DRA work on this a little bit quicker, but don't really hold my breath on that, because they're not really good at anything else. They're not fit for purpose.
Correct.
They're meant to be the governing body of the sport in terms of disciplinary measures, and nothing ever gets fed back. But moving on to some good stuff. It was Challenge Tour weekend this weekend, just gone, boys, and
certainly was.
It's hotting up, and it was another good weekend for Connor Scutt. He moves top of the Challenge Tour order of merit, and right now is in a very good position.
Yeah, I think, you know, we've done it a lot. We've talked a lot lately. We talk a lot about Connor because he's, like I've said a few times. I think the last time we were out, I said, and I use the phrase fairly regularly, like he's a superstar. I think we've seen some, like, I think he's genuinely, like, his darts, the work, the things that he does, the timing that he seems to have in terms of producing very, very watchable darts. I think that is why I think he is a bit of a superstar, Connor, because yes, he's a great darts player, and the important thing for all darts players is to come out and win matches, which is what he does. But I just think what he does is he produces very watchable darts while he does it, and there will always be, you know, an awful lot of potential to go and earn money within darts for somebody like that. You know, he did, when he lost his card, like we said, you know, it was the best time to lose his card. He is now, without a card, in a better position than he was when we spoke to him on this show. When he had a card, we spoke to him about the back end of the year. So we spoke to him around this time of the year when we were looking ahead at how far he was into the green for the Players' Championships, for getting down to Minehead, where he was at in terms of potentially qualifying for Ali Pali. he's in a better position now than he was when he had a card to qualify for those events. And he sits top of the Challenge Tour, which first of all makes him the favourite, let's say, at the moment for picking up a card automatically. But not only that, is he's going to continually be invited to Pro Tour events. So he's going to continue to move up that Pro Tour order of merit so that he can potentially get himself in. As I say, he's already in the green for Minehead. He's already got a ticket there if he can just hold on to it. And he is looking like he's really good value for getting to the Palace as well. I think he's having a fantastic year.
Yeah, 100%. And look, this isn't a surprise, though. We've seen him post astronomical averages at the Super Series, at Pro Tour events, at Challenge Tour events. It's just having that belief again.
But the top of that that Challenge Tour order of merit is stacked. And yes, Connor Scutt is top, and he will, in that top end, keep getting invited to Pro Tour events. But he is 50 quid ahead of Wesley Placia. So he is only, whilst he's at the top, he is only just at the top. He's less than £1,000 ahead of Christian Kist. There is also some big talent, not too far behind him as well. So whilst he looks very good, he still has to carry it on. He's still got to be consistent, and consistency was, again, as much as I really like Connor, consistency was one of the things that let him down when he had the card, as he wasn't able to do it consistently enough in order to build enough to hold on to it. But now is when he's got to just carry on doing the same. More of the same from Connor gets him a tour card, but he hasn't really got the space to peak and trough. Certainly not in those Challenge Tour events, because there is a chase impact, certainly in the shape of Christian Kist and Wesley Placia, who could change the story a little bit.
Well,
certainly does have the absolute best platform to launch this attack from, by the way, because when we sat here and discussed him in January, we were like, right, he'll go and play some gold and platinum ranked WDF events, target a spot at the WDF World Championships as a fullback, have a crack at the ADC, get himself playing locally, go to Modus, and then go to the Challenge Tour, right? He has done all of those things. He has ticked off every single box. Connor Scutt could well be in 3 World Championships within the space of 3 weeks. Not allowed to play in all of them, but he could well be in that position, right? Already qualified for the WDF, looking good for the ADC Global Championship. If not, I think he might have already put himself within that. And then the PDC World Championships coming up after that. He's in Champions Week at the Super Series next week and is one of the favourites to go and win that right now. Like, he has gone and done absolutely everything that we said he might do, with more success than perhaps any of us would have predicted. You would have gone, right, he'll tick off 1 or 2 of those things, but to be in position to do all of them in the same season is quite staggering.
Yeah, no, I agree that what he... Oh, Canals, a stretcher coming on for a Spurs player, not a good sign. Yeah, no, look, I agree that what he's done is incredible. And when he gets his card back, he will be in a much better position to keep it than he was last time, because year 1 cost him the first time round.
Yeah.
He played really well in year 2, really well.
But he did leave himself too much to do and couldn't work miracles at the end. That was the issue. But since then, I just think he's gone from strength to strength. But like I say, it's there are players like him, and there aren't loads of them that manage to consistently produce what I can only really describe as watchable darts. Like there's loads of players that average well, there's loads of players that play as well, but I do just find his game very watchable. He's rarely involved in a boring match. Like he tends to entertain quite well, which is really good.
Yeah, and I can't remember who asked that. Yes, he still is using the Josh. Yeah, he's using the Condor 123 fin flights still, and playing very well with them.
He did change colour of them during the Super Series, but that's about it.
Yeah, but one Danny Jansen that started off the season tremendously well, but has kind of dropped off a cliff since Challenge Tour 8. We're now at Challenge Tour 20.
I mean,
I know
are
what
we
you're gonna say.
surprised?
No.
Are we surprised? He did exactly the same thing on the Pro Tour. His action does not hold up over a sustained period of time. When he's on it, he's on it. When he's off, he's awful. I don't mean that nastily, but he is. And the peaks and troughs, the gap between the top and bottom level is far too big. His range is far too big. And that is all on that action. He does way too much. And if you get the smallest little thing out of sync, it costs him. It happened at Pro Tour level, and it's happening again at Challenge Tour level. He's clearly got something about him. He's clearly got a solid mentality to have been through that, to put himself in these positions to win over and over again. What he has to do now is go, right, this is twice this has happened at either level. Unless he can find a way to click for the final couple of events and push himself up to that level, if unsuccessful, he has to go away and rebuild. Completely start again.
Like Martin Schindler did.
Yeah. Just completely break down the action. If you have to, throw you around for a few weeks. Just completely eradicate that twist of your hand within that dart, within that action, because it just is not sustainable. It's not working. It doesn't produce results consistently enough for you to make a full-time career out of being a dart player. We've seen that. You dropped off the Pro Tour ranks, and now you're struggling to stay at the top of the Challenge Tour ranks. And you're going to cause yourself an injury long-term. Because
the wrist is right over, and it's like
he's gonna cause himself long-term injury. So at this point, he's not making a career from something, and it's damaging his physical health. Go and start again.
Yeah, no, it needs.
And just teach yourself a more methodical, or more robotic, or more not unnatural, a more Glenn Dorrant action.
Shout out.
Or a Phil Taylor action. Phil Taylor's action was not the most natural you've ever seen in your world. That was practiced and rehearsed over and over and over again.
Manufactured, you might say.
Manufactured.
Yeah, 100%. But a lot on the line. Challenge tours, they have to wait till November to play again, so it's a bit of a wait.
It's a long way.
They're
all busy though, aren't they? This is the thing.
Yeah, they're all busy.
It's not like no one's going to throw a dart between now and then. Like there's lots going on, especially for some of these lads towards the top. They've got a lot of darts to play between now and then.
But the ones at the top have got too much thinking time. What do I need? What's on the line? Because you think there's Grand Slam spots, there's World spots, there's Tour cards for probably. Are we saying Bolton's still involved, or is it Janssen up? Is it only the top four?
Bolton's got the ability to just go berserk. I've said this a lot about Andy Bolton. He is quality. He doesn't do anything special. He doesn't do anything special, but I think that makes him more dangerous. The fact that he can rock up and sit at that 95 average all day long makes Andy Bolton a threat, and he can go and win 2 of these. He's in reasonable enough shape that he can rock up and do back-to-back events on the Challenge Tour and with great success. Like, he's not going to burn himself out. He's not one of those kind of players. He's done the Super Series long enough. He rocks up at seniors events and outlasts most people. He's done it at Pro Tour level. He's doing it again at Challenge Tour level. Like, the fact that he isn't going to go berserk and expend a lot of energy by going 180, big checkout, suits him. Because he's just going to go ton 40. He might miss a dart at big ton plus checkout, but he'll ping it next time he comes back to the board. And he will do that over and over and over again.
I think Andy Bolton's more likely than Danny Janssen. If I had to put he's slightly behind him in rankings and position. But if I had to put my 50 pence on one of them two, I think I'd go with Bolton rather than Janssen at the minute, definitely.
Yeah, I don't disagree. So it's going to be interesting, this blend, because you look at the top end of the Challenge Tour, there's a lot of talent there. But you think for Scutt, Placia and Kist, it's now ideal because for the foreseeable future, there are 3 tour card holders not available to play. So pretty much all 3 of them will be going to every Pro Tour between now and the end of the year.
Yeah, and someone a minute ago said, I can't remember which one of you said it, but they've got a lot of time to think about what they need on the Challenge Tour now. I think it's the complete opposite. I think they've all got so much going on. You've got Plaisir playing for the national side. You've got Scutt, who's going to focus on things like the ADC and Champions Week next week, and then Pro Tours. That they're not going to be thinking about the Challenge Tour until you get about 2 weeks before that. And by then, they'll have played enough darts to know where their game is and how much more practice and what they need to do to get themselves ready for that. Like we said, there's never really been a better time to be an amateur darts player, to not be one of the 128 tour card holders. They're probably going to play more darts in the next 3.5 months up until November than 95% of tour card holders.
I know.
Not because they're going to play the same amount of darts as tour card holders, and then they're going to play all the extra stuff they can play. They're going to be in great shape for it.
Yeah, no, it's going to be exciting into the year on the Challenge Tour, which will be interesting. A week in darts as well. Plenty going on in the world. First of all, a massive shout out to Steve West, who completed the fairy tale, gents, after career-threatening hip surgery, because let's have it right, that's what it was. To come back and book his place in Champions Week is the fairy tale, but there was more than just that. When he said, it's the first time my kids have seen me play on a stage and things like that. I know it's the line we use a lot, but only fairy tales happen in sport.
Yeah, and he had his very own little one at the weekend.
That's what I mean.
Look, something that I didn't expect him to do was build through the week. I expected him to burn out a little bit. We've seen him actually produce at ADC events and get his way nicely, but actually I expected it to go the other way. I expected him to drop off as the week went on. I worked closely with him throughout the week. I was on social media, and Saturday night I was players marshal, so I was sending players to the stage, etc. And he's like, I didn't expect to be here beyond Wednesday. I put myself in for the entire week. I wasn't expecting to be able to stand on this hip. Like, he possibly put himself through a little bit too much last week, but he's got the result that he wanted out of it. The fact he's done that the day he gets married on the Saturday, drives to Portsmouth on the Sunday, rocks up Monday to Saturday and puts himself in Champions Week, 5th weekly title, I think it is.
No way I'd have got away with that, you know. There's no way I'd have got away with that the day after my wedding.
I don't think their actual honeymoon is till February. Chatted to Michelle, I was like, honeymoon in Portsmouth next week. She goes, yeah, darts, Finland in February or something. I was like,
oh, mate. He clearly knows more than I do about how to play the game.
His missus not having any of that.
Yeah, and you know we are. I just have to check. We're within weeks now. We're honing in on our 10-year anniversary, and even after 10 years, I'm convinced I wouldn't get away with that anyway. Like, absolutely, yeah. He's played that one very well.
Harry, the draw for ET9 normally comes out on the Thursday before play starts on the Friday. Normally, it's not done live or anything. We just get an email saying, here's the draw. Zong is heading back to Alexandra Palace.
Yes.
Won his fourth appearance in the World Championships, winning the inaugural PDC China Championship. Again, another one that has incredible ability, but perhaps we need to see a little bit more from him because he does dominate these big events.
We have to see it. I think it's really important for that region as well because he does. You're right. He's so dominant over there. Sometimes is the performances we've seen when we've got to the world or when he's got to the World Championships have almost done a disservice to what he does over there in the way that he plays and the way he dominates that tour. We do need to see more, and it will do a lot for tour in that region of the world, but he's got to back it. He's got to back up that form and that level and the game that we see from him throughout the year. He's got to do it on the big stage when it matters.
Technically, he's so sound as well. Like 100%. He is one that could make that transition and jump. And like I said, he could be that make that step for China to have a crack. But we've got to get him out of that region. We've got to get him competing elsewhere. Whether that be challenge, is he too old for the Dev Tour? Is he one that normally makes a crack at the World Youth maybe that week, but he doesn't play for the full year?
How old do you have to be for the Dev Tour now? Under 43.
23 and under on the World Championship final.
Bollocks.
Not that I've been the beneficiary of that rule before.
26.
Under
So-
40. Oh,
So I think we've seen him before, but not
Yeah.
sort of, recently. So we've got to get him elsewhere. We've got to get him competing outside of China. he's just far too good to not be.
Yeah, I could completely agree. There were some WDF events on. I didn't watch a lot of them, but Dimitri's brother picked up a title. Kirsty Hutchinson picking up a title as well that I saw on social.
Yeah, we say Dimitri's brother like that was a shrug, by the way. Not the one that used to play the Dev Tour to the level either, because there's two of them. Gianni used to be the one that was, all right, he'll be the next one off the rank. But for Janti to go and win that title looked pretty good in doing so by all accounts.
Do they dance?
I don't think Janti did.
He's fucking half the man his brother is, isn't he? Like if he ain't dancing, he's not. We're not interested.
Yeah. The Pro Tours return this week as well. The list of absentees at the moment are Gary Anderson, Nathan Aspinall, Rob Cross, Luke Humphries, Ronnie Hybrex, Jacques Labra, Adrian Lewis, Luke Littler, Hope Puha, Michael Smith, Adam Smith-Neil, Leighton Bennett, Callum Ridds, 18 only. So again, the list is quite big. I'm surprised that all of the World Series players didn't bin it off, considering they just travelled 24 hours, and most of them I see on Instagram, and that only got back today.
I mean, there's still time. They'll just take the fine, won't they?
That's why I said this is the list at the moment.
Yeah.
The incoming players are as follows. Danny
They
Edson.
were playing darts on a flight. Like they weren't digging holes in. Like they weren't mining. Like they were. It was just. Like,
And they certainly weren't in economy.
Maybe premium.
I'm sure one of them. I'm sure they might be able to, fight through the pain.
To put that into context, I've never even been on a flight that offers premium economy or business.
Yes.
Everybody sits here.
Right, wait, bring more standing tickets, please. Can we have more standing tickets on this plane?
So the list of players coming in at the moment are Danny Jansen, Christian Kiss, Andy Bolton, Connor Scutt, Wesley Plaisir, John Henderson, Stefan Belmont, Richie Bennett, Lee Cox, Justin Hood, Jamie Atkins, Kai Gotthard, and Cam Crabtree for 18 only. But if I'm Cam, I'd suggest that you stick around because you might be needed.
Yeah. Book 2 nights in the Premier Inn.
Where is it? Is it MK or is it?
I think it's MK.
He's a London boy anyway.
Yeah. Yeah, Milton Keynes.
Yeah.
That'd be why I looked at what is it? I didn't realise it was Milton Keynes. I'm travelling to London tomorrow, and I looked at having a stopover at Milton Keynes to break it up on the way, and the hotels were like unreasonably expensive.
That would be why.
And now I know exactly bloody why.
How dare they have an event?
Wait, but you know what? It's a very good job that I didn't go on with my original plan, and because there is absolutely no way whatsoever, because like traveling with the kids and Anna, that Anna would have bought that as being a coincidence that we ended up in that Hilton. You know, the Hilton.
10-year anniversary, my heart, Daniel.
Like that, yeah. Us and the kids at breakfast, and the PDC tour walks in for breakfast. There's no way whatsoever she's buying that as a coincidence.
Oh, you'd have been in the right doghouse.
Oh, that would have been. And I would have. No, I didn't know that. I assumed it was Barnsley. I didn't pay attention. I'm off work. I don't know. But I did genuinely look. I looked at around 2 or 3, and everywhere seemed to just be slightly more expensive. But no, I thought, oh fuck it, I'm just going to drive straight to London. I'm not asked. I'm not going to go straight through.
So yeah, have we missed anything else in a week of darts?
There's not a lot happened, is there? I mean, well, there is, but we've just covered it all. There's not a lot extra. Yeah. Talked about the World Series. Did that. Talked about people being banned. Talked about
Suspended. Thank you.
suspended. Yeah, well done. Thank you. Apologies.
Johnny, if you can give us any info that happened at the county darts AGM, then that would be good. Oh yes, sorry, we are going to talk about this because
yes, can we play it? Oh, have we not got it?
The best promo video I have ever seen.
I like that. It's fucking brilliant, unbelievably good. I don't know whose idea that was, and then who said yes to it. Because that for that thing to happen, that takes two madmen, two lunatics for that to happen. One to think of it, and another one to say yes, and they both have to be equally bonkers.
So I can tell you the story behind it. Julie, who does a lot of work for the World Seniors, messaged John. Hi, John, can we have a promo video off you, please? And he's like, yeah, no worries. She left it it was about a week, and she was like, oh, I'm going to. She's telling me the story. She was like, yeah, I need to nudge John today. And literally within 5 minutes, her phone pinged and this video come through. And she watched it. And to start with, she was like, what am I watching here? And then got it. So it was literally all John's. It was all of him.
That's remarkable.
I mean, Trina Gulliver's done one today, and she just stood there saying, "Hi, I'm coming to the thing."
Yeah.
For John to go all out like that is just brilliant.
Absolutely.
Everyone that sends one in from now on should just be sent, replied back to with John's video, so just saying, "Please try harder." Just send John's back and saying, "Please try harder." Come on. Yeah, genuinely remarkable. Absolutely superb work.
Yeah, just an absolute. That's going to take some beating for any promo video now. Absolutely incredible. But yeah, let's open the chat to question time then as well. If we've missed anything else, then stick it in the chat room as well. I've seen a lot of darts over in Florida, I want to say.
Happy to cover that if anybody needs me to.
Yeah. So Keegan Brown's over there, Jermaine Watamina, Steve Brown, John Brown as well.
In a cricket tournament. Love that.
I just don't think it translates to TV though.
No, it doesn't, but it translates to me very well.
For fans that understand it, I completely
I almost think it's something that it's. I mean, let's be honest. It's something that you almost need, something like a Modus Super Series or something the PDC do on PDC TV, because it's going to be. It needs either a streaming audience or a PDC TV subscriber audience, because it does. Cricket as a format only appeals to people who already know and understand that. It's not. It doesn't translate to casual fan. You can't push it onto Sky Sports. But some of us love it. Love watching that format, and there just isn't enough of it in a way that is nicely presented and televised and streamed. But more of that, please. More of it.
Yeah. James asked, do players high in the Players' Championship Order of Merit care what they're seeding for Minehead? No, I can tell you that none of them give a monkey's where they're seeded for Minehead.
The
seeds are all over the place.
If the question is, in my opinion, if you ever ask in any context, player, fan, traveller, work, whatever, does anybody care about a particular issue? Blank, fill in, whatever, and has the word Minehead in it? Probably not. certainly after night one, absolutely not.
Well, let's be fair. It doesn't matter what seed you are. We all know what players will be on the main stage.
Correct. So
it's kind of irrelevant where you're seeded. Does anyone give Big Vincent a chance of keeping his card? I would love to say yes.
Let's have a look. Where, off the top of my head, let's have a look where he is. Mm-hmm.
So he needs to find the best part of 25 grand.
Oh, shit. No. Oh. I was all for saying yes, and then I just kept having to roll and roll and roll and roll. and got oh no. So sadly not. I'd like to think so, but no. Too much to do in too little time, which is exactly the same for Spurs, to be fair.
Yeah, to be fair, we should have been out of sight at half time and then been shit second half. But whilst I've got this up there, Placia's in an interesting position because if he can perform in all these Pro Tours, he could get himself a card without the Challenge Tour.
He is. So he's on 38 grand at the minute. Stephen Burton sits at the very bottom spot at 56. Now, it depends on where we think that line's going to be come the end of the year, there's just people in the chat room who will be able to predict this far better than me. But loose finger in the air, I reckon it's going to be early 60s.
I'm not sure. It might not even be that. I look at Dylan Slevin at the moment, who is on 57 and is not in the Worlds of Minehead. So is he going to pick up $5,000 to get to 62 on the next set of Pro or on the Pro Tours? I'm not sure.
Placia's going to go to Minehead.
That's what I mean.
I would also probably back him to pick up more money in the Pro Tour events he'll go to than, if you look at the batch of players above him and you've got the Menchi Sulevic, Mervyn King, Nick Kenny, Jeffrey Sparadans, Adam Gavlas. We've seen very little from all that group of players this year. We've seen far more from Wesley Placia than we've seen from any of those players this year.
The same as Jamie Hughes is only 250 quid above Slevin, not in anything at the moment. So they're going to have to put some form together from somewhere.
There is also, it's just while I've got it in front of us as well, is you've got a few players in there as well who are year one of holding their tour card. So Wessel Nyman's one, Dom Taylor, Jeffrey de Graaf, probably the three strongest, who they've made huge strides in year one to getting themselves, right up into that threshold of where they're going to have to defend a tour card, and really putting the hard yards in early in that 2-year cycle. I think it's really interesting around that spot, that set at the minute. I think we might see a few surprises of who ends up in the green come the end of the year.
Yeah, I agree. Liam is in. This will get Gob talking as well. You are good, buddy. How would you revamp the Grand Slam?
Bomb it.
That's not an option.
It is just not a very humane one.
I just think it's one of the most difficult questions I think it's one of the most difficult questions to answer at the minute because it's just where you go with it, isn't it? The original format was so good. The idea behind it was so good. And that what it offered in terms of the excitement that you could get yourself so excited for the potential of matches that you could never ever see outside of that one tournament. That was the one time of year where you could see like this player play that player. It's the only occasion, it's the only tournament. And without that, I don't know what it has to offer. I don't know how it differs itself from anything else. And I think it's almost impossible you've almost got to have a redesign and rebrand what it is and what it stands for and whether it is. I tell you what I like the idea of if we've talked lots about the potential future of the UK Open and what that ends up being in terms of the links with the amateur game and how amateur qualifiers will be able to qualify for the UK Open and whether or not we end up giving more spots to the women's tour and what that field is then made up of. But I just think if you can put links with the amateur game to allow qualifiers to come through in play into that, then you might capture some of the novelty. But if you can't do that, what is it? It's like it's not what it used to be, is it? And that's
I don't think it ever will be, and I just.
Well, it can't be. That's it. That's the thing. It can't be what it used to be.
Broken and continue to be so. It's just not special anymore.
No, but you've got to then do something with it. If you want to continue with it, you've got to find a way to make it special, and whether that is giving opportunities for amateur players so that you get non-tour card holders beating tour card holders, and you get a bit of some fairy tale stories which you can do, and whether you link up your other tours, whether you ask your challenge tour and your dev tour and your women's tour, and then you affiliate with some amateur tours. Or you do something a bit more internationally, where you bring in your various different players from affiliated tours, and you do something with that. Then, but you've got to they have to find a way to make it mean something, to make it special. Because at the minute, it isn't special, and you can't get excited about it because it doesn't have that attractiveness that we're used to seeing from it.
Yeah, I don't know. Because the days of the cross code are gone. I know a lot of people in the chat room there saying that the Civic isn't big enough to host it anymore. That's the problem.
But I don't think the problem's the building. There's bigger problems with that tournament than the building.
Oh, yeah, no, but people can change the venue, but go back to the Civic. But the Civic just isn't big enough to hold the tournament anymore. Is the problem for the building itself? No, I think one of the worst mistakes they ever did was rank it. It should never have been ranked.
Half the stuff shouldn't be ranked.
Well, it doesn't make any sense to rank it, does it? It's not logical.
No. That's
my ass. Put it in the northeast. God's sake. Come on.
To be fair, once you're actually in Aldersley, the venue's all right. It's just getting there and where it is. Actually, inside of it's all right. It's just where it is and getting to it.
I spent time in Wolverhampton before that and Leicester before the Grand Slam. No, Grand Prix. Either way around. And Wolverhampton as an area, push it a lot. Leicester,
last year in Wolverhampton, it was everywhere. It was on billboards. It was on roundabouts. The Wolverhampton Council did an amazing job at letting everyone know the Grand Slam of Darts was there.
Good on them.
It was really good. Someone asked why Gary's missing the next set of Pro Tours. He's still on holiday. Obviously, it's still the kids' holiday, so he's genuinely away with the family.
If he's anything like everyone else with kids, this is exactly the point at which he's had enough. Yeah. It's too long. 6 weeks is insane. If somebody could just take them back, that would be tremendous.
To be fair, I was chatting. I don't know if Anthony's still in the chat room, but I was chatting to him about is it the same in America?
No, about 2.5 months, don't they, over there?
Yeah, they get like two and a half months off for summer.
Think of all the jobs Mrs. Esser get done in the house if she had 2.5 months off in the summer.
You could tell her that.
No. She's not. Let's be honest. She's not watching this. If she was watching it, she's certainly not still tuning in 2 hours later.
Riveting review for our own content there, Dan. Well done.
But no, look, there's plenty coming up. We've obviously got the Pro Tour streams Wednesday and Thursday for you. Looking forward to do that. I'm going to stream the Euro Tour on Friday next week to see how it goes down for you guys. So it's a bit of a test to see how it goes, but we are going to do it. Also, we are going to have some memberships launching here on YouTube, possibly tomorrow, but certainly by the weekend. We're just finalising what you guys get for everything and like that. And look, it gives us the opportunity. Look, it brings in a little bit more money to the project, so it means we get to try and do more stuff if you guys get behind it, which will be good. there will be some members-only content, but rest assured, the usual stuff, the live lounge, the Pro Tour streams and whatever, I can personally guarantee you will never go behind a paywall, because that's the fundamentals that have got us to where we are now. So things like that will never go, but we are going to look at doing some members-only content and things like that for you guys as well. And also, just in the final process of designing it, we are going to have some merch going live by the weekend as well.
Oh, yes. That's what we're all about.
So it should be it should be good. I've had a bit of time on my hands, and we're finally getting there. That after neglecting certain bits, it's now very, very close to happening, which will be good. Bob doesn't know this yet because he was late joining us, but next week we are going to have Monday off. We're going to have a week's summer break, and it's bank holiday. So we are going to take next Monday off just to rest, recharge. Going to try and give things a little bit of a rebrand as well, how things look with some new bits and bobs, some new intro videos, and how things look on screen as well. But yeah, lots of
rebranding the free content as well, which I think is very good of you, Philip. That's very
look, lots of good things coming up at OD, which will be good. Looking forward to it. This will be available as an audio only as well from all good podcast providers in the morning. So all good. What's that?
And some bad ones too.
Yeah, we just upload it to our provider, and they just push it absolutely everywhere. Don't worry, Chris. It's only a 1 week summer hiatus. Last week,
you cheeky.
As I say, last year we had 2, but this year we're going to have 1 week off before we jump back into it. It's bank holiday, and it gives us a chance to just refresh everything on screen.
Do you know? I don't think I'll tell you why. Well, I after that, I don't know if I'm back the week after, because I'm on jury service. I might get something due. You know, like if I get something like extra serious and you have to stay in a hotel in protected custody or something like that. So we never. But I'm on jury service.
I'm not jealous of that, but I've always wanted to do jury service. You know.
Yeah, but let's be honest. We know exactly what I'm going to get, don't we? I'm going to sit there for 2 weeks doing relentless cases that take 1 hour each of idiots who've been rioting through them. I'm just going to get rioters, aren't I? Relentlessly for 2 weeks, jury service.
I've done jury service twice. The second time, the second time we went into the court, and this was everyone that's been called, because not everyone gets picked. I think they call, is it 20 and 12 get picked or whatever it is.
Yeah.
And the judge said, look, this case could go on a bit, so if anyone can't do more than 2 weeks, let me know. I'm like, no, I'll do it. I'm getting paid no matter what.
Yeah, well, that is an advantage of working for the government. Is they will support you in helping other branches of the government to function. But yeah, I've got 2 weeks jury service from the 2nd of September. So, I mean, if you are due to be tried for any crime at all, like, you may want to consider a membership just based on that.
Newcastle Crown Court.
Teesside. Yeah, Teesside Crown Court is my local, most local one.
Like an establishment.
Yeah, that's my local. That's where they try.
But everyone, been an amazing show as always. We thank you for your continued support. Remember, drop us a like and subscribe to the channel, and we massively appreciate it. I will see you on Wednesday for the Pro Tour, but we have been Online Darts. Phil Bars, Jack Garwood, and Dan Simpson signing out for this Monday, and we'll see you all very, very soon.
Bye.